joining us online. And I want to thank again Pastor Zama for the very thoughtful word of prayer, which he did earlier to set the scene. So today, obviously with this delay, we might have to do a bit of adjustment in the program. If you look at the order of the day, we are going to have some very thoughtful discussion with, I think Dr. David Hughes has got quite a lot to take us through. Gideon is going to pick on the topic of community mobilization. Dr. David Hughes is going to take us through the women in liberation struggle and their contribution to peace process. But before that, I would like us to, before we even start anything, I would like us to stand up and pay a moment of silence for those who have paid the ultimate price in this struggle, in these troubles. Please, could we stand right for a moment, just a moment of silence. Thank you. May we be seated, please. Chief Asar here. As I was saying yesterday, 3 years ago, I'm sure like many out, some joining this struggle at various stages. 3 years ago, I knew nothing. Well, other than the odd thing that you read on the internet or a little bit that impacts on you. I'm sure all of us have been touched in one way or the other, either personally, directly, or by through family members and friends about this, the troubles going through our country. I knew nothing, and the community catapulted me into the governance, some of the governance arms of this, struggle. When I joined the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation, the Council of Elders, and I was made chair, I didn't know what to do, other than the fact that I had to honor, like everyone else touched by this. I said I had to give it my best shot. I'm saying this because I had to learn by osmosis. And I learned by osmosis from interacting with people like Judith, Henry, but most importantly, I learned a lot by working with Prof. Lillian Atanga, who is a professor in Florida. So our first presentation today, I am delighted to say that some wonderful job that Lillian has been doing as usual. She's going to talk to us about, she's going to do a presentation of the 2022 education process, education access data. And this is going to be underpinned by some very interesting testimonies. So, Prof. Lillian, is she online? Is she ready to go?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay. So we're going to have for the next 45 minutes. Prof, you and your team have got the microphone.
Thank you very much for... I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a few moments. Thank you all. Oh, let me go to the beginning. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much thank you very much, all of you who are there. I cannot begin to call names. And thank those who are online and the potential future viewers of this program. I'm going to present some data that was collected in 2022 with regard to education and health access, in the southern Cameroons. At the time of collection of this data, it was when we were grappling very badly with the issue of access to education and access to health within our nation. We were all crying that who are we fighting for if we do not have a future to take over from us, or if we have a future of children who are illiterate? And the CDN therefore invested some money to find out the state of education and health within the southern Cameroons and Bazonia.
Prof. Lillian, sorry to interrupt. Is your screen also loading? Because all we're seeing here is loading.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, because we can see you, but it's just loading. Okay, there we go. There we go. It's back now.
Okay.
We see background. That's what you want to see, right?
Yes.
Okay, now it's good. Thank you.
Okay. Can I, if I let me put again on view to see if the slideshow shows. Do you see the slideshow?
Now we just see a white screen.
Okay. So let me present from now the screen has frozen.
You have to go manual.
Yes, let me do it manually.
There we go.
Okay, I'll just do it manually.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the timeline of the education project, of the educational situation within the southern Cameroons and Bazonia, prior to 2016, we all know the issues that we had. Each person has their testimony about the status of education. Everyone went to school, that's a fact. But the question is, what kind of school did we go to? What kind of education did we receive? What were the structures? What were the systems? What were the policies? We all know the situation that catapulted us into the teachers' strike of 2016 and the school strikes, of course. I was a vivid live participant of all of that. And even before the 2016, from 2009 to 2016, I had been fighting my own battles, but that's a story for another day. 2017, there was a generalized school boycott in which we stayed at home for several months, which eventually took a political angle, leading to a school ban, which was intensified in 2018. And 2019, it got really bad. That's when the most spate of school burnings happened. 2020, there were 2021, 2022, the bans began reducing. School attendance increased a little bit, but it wasn't enough. And that's when the CDN decided to step in to carry out the research to have a situational understanding of the school access. There were issues of infrastructure. Schools were burned. Schools were occupied by military and non-state armed groups. And what were the issues we were looking at? We were looking at kidnapping of school children, torture, rape, killings of school children and teachers, attack on school teachers, kidnap, torture, and so on and so forth. And you find some images. These images are real and live. And also there was the issue of health facilities that were being burnt or destroyed, or health workers that were escaping, and we didn't have access to health. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on methodology, that's technical, but one thing that we want to emphasize here is that the research was carried out in all, please pardon the terminology here, it was written as an official document for international audience. And I remember the discussion on terminology yesterday. So what you see, don't mind it. So it was carried out in all 13 counties. It was carried out in all the local government areas. And it was a first-hand report. And the data was carried out by women who live within the communities in which the data was carried out. And I want to say 5 of those women are sitting with you over there and working with you. The women are women from different CSO organizations and platforms, and they went to the ground, collected the data, interviewed people, collected pictures. We have a stock of, I could say there are several hundreds of pictures from the ground, because each person had to give a minimum of 15 pictures. So we have a lot of pictures. And what were our objectives? To examine school attendance, examine ratio of school attendance by gender, the distribution of school attendance by type of school. Is it a community school, a government school, or a private school? Which schools were occupied by state forces and which ones by non-state forces? Which health facilities were functioning? How many health workers were there? How many people suffered physical abuse? But we want to say that even though we tried to make the data very comprehensive, there were several gaps in the data. The data was analyzed, I must acknowledge, with one person who is currently with you in Toronto now, Dr. Masture. She is the one who did all the analysis of this data, the quantitative analysis of this data was done by Masture, and she did an excellent job. And I want to also acknowledge that what I'm sharing here is just a summary of all the work that we did. So the first objective that we looked at was functional schools overall, per zone, per county, and per local government. And with regard to primary schools, we noted in 2022 that less than 50% of schools were functional at the primary level, which was quite low. We know our population, which means that if we had a population of 2 million children, less than 1 million were going to school, which is quite a problem. At the secondary level, it was even worse because fewer and fewer children went to secondary school. Remember that secondary school was the time that children became mobilized into armed people, and they were the most targeted, especially by the state forces. A young man from 13 and above was considered a potential amber, so it targeted a lot, and we are going to see that later on. The counties that were most affected were Momo, Bui, and Lebialem, which had the least functional schools. Then the rural areas were also, if you look at this one, you see that as we moved to the rural areas, more schools were not functional. At the secondary level, Bui and Momo still experienced the least number of functioning schools. And although Menchum shows as if it had functioning schools, the schools in Menchum were very few. So they really were not functional, both at the secondary and at the primary level. What stood out in the data was that Njikwa and Konye had absolutely no school attendance, neither at the primary level nor at the secondary level. It's not as if there are no children living in these two local governments. It's simply that the conflict at those local governments did not permit for any sort of school attendance. The second objective was the ratio of occupation of schools by state and non-state armed groups. And we noted that both state and non-state armed groups occupied schools at different proportions, but both parties are guilty to the abuse of school premises. The third objective was the distribution of school by type, whether they were government, faith-based, private, or community schools. And this is a very interesting map here, which shows that most of the schools that were functioning were government schools, no doubt. Faith-based schools were functioning, but I want to raise the interest here to the arrow, which we see, which indicated that 242 community schools were functioning, which is quite a big number. Those figures would have changed within the past 12 months of data collection. Of the community schools, a majority of them were in the northern zone. And at the secondary level, we had a total of 7 community schools as well. The fourth objective was school attendance ratio by gender. We see red is for girls. A lot more girls are in school than boys, and we can obviously know why. At the secondary level, it's still the same statistics. We have a lot more girls than boys in school. We obviously know why. Because the boys were targeted, it now became difficult for boys to go to school because a lot of children, including even my own children, were killed simply because they were young men and considered to be amber, because there is nothing that identifies you as amber or not amber. Objective 5 was looking at the number of schools destroyed or burned. And it was noted that a majority of the schools, up to 64% of them, were burnt within the south, destroyed or burnt within the southern zone. And that was a total of 151 schools that were destroyed or burned. That's the primary level only. We have not added the secondary level. And the most affected county is Meme, in which over 60 schools were destroyed. At the primary level, Mbonge was the most affected local government when it comes to the number of schools that were destroyed, with nearly 60 schools that were destroyed. At the secondary level, however, the northern zone suffered the most schools that were destroyed. And the total number of schools that were destroyed in southern Cameroon, Sambazonia at the secondary level are 181, either burned or destroyed by the conflict. We find a total of 334 schools within southern Cameroon, Sambazonia that were burned or destroyed overall. Those are figures that I want for us to be reflecting on. As per physical abuse, the data we got, I want to say, is not comprehensive because rape is a taboo within our community and therefore it is not reported. We could find reports of 1,500 cases, 4,500 cases of rape, but that figure is very insignificant because both young girls and women do not report rape due to the shame of it. It's even worse when it is a male that is raped. None of it gets reported. However, Kumbo reported the highest number of rape cases. We do not want to insinuate that it happened there most, but probably it was reported most in Kumbo. Teachers also were physically abused, and the highest reports came from Kumbo as well. I don't know if it's good data collection or it is real. That's also something we cannot validate within this data. When it came to health facilities, Kumbo again suffered the highest report of destruction of health facilities and abuse of health workers, either raped, beaten, or killed. The last objective, I think, is objective 7, which is health facilities, which are either functional, abandoned, destroyed, burned, and shortage of staff. And we noted that a good 20% of our health facilities do not function. And a lot of those that the highest number of health facilities that do not function are in Fontem local government area, and the most functional ones are in Boya local government area. The highest number of abandoned health facilities is within the southern zone, with about 66% of them abandoned, a lot more than in the northern zone. And the most that were abandoned is in the Lebialem area. Within the as per local government area, you have Fontem Dop Akwaya, which suffered the highest rate of abandonment of health facilities. And for those that were burnt or destroyed, the southern zone suffered about 78% of health facilities burnt or destroyed. Manyumeme and Lebialem suffer the most. The northern zone suffers the highest shortage of health workers because they abandoned their health posts, and health posts were found without staffing. So with all of this research, to conclude, we said, while the data may point a positive upward trend in school access, school attendance in rural areas is as low as 0 in so many areas, but still averages only a 25% of school attendance overall within the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia, which is grossly insufficient for the future we want to build. I heard someone ask yesterday, where do we see ourselves in 5 years, in 10 years? Is it with a 25% literacy rate of our children? Then we will be having thieves in those 5-10 years instead of educated people to build the nation. There is acute shortage of healthcare workers due to persistent attacks. And state and non-state armed groups occupy over 160 schools and hospitals. Community schools serve as an alternative in some enclaved villages. Like I noted, this data was collected in 2022. And based on the results of this data, the CDN organized an armed group retreat, which worked on the results of this data. And we want to believe that there is a positive increase to school attendance, school occupation, healthcare, due to the sensitization of the necessity of healthcare and education within the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. The CDN is looking forward to doing an evaluation of the positive effects of awareness creation based on hard data. But we also really want to appreciate the women. We work with 26 women from 13 counties, 2 women per county, who went about on foot, on bike, collecting this data, risking their lives to give us an authentic picture with photographs of the situation on the ground. So this is not some on-the-air data that was collected. This was a hands-free, a hands-on data. And for the 5 women who are with you in Toronto, I want to give our appreciation to them. It's the first time they are also listening to these results. I want to give an appreciation to them and for them to carry this appreciation back to the other 21 women who were not able to join us today. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, this is excellent data gathering, as you would expect from Prof, for those of us who know her, and especially the ladies, what a wonderful role that they played in supporting this. I think for those of us who work in public health, there's something talking about wider determinants of public health approach. And you can, this is essentially looking at any little thing that can impact on public health. So we similarly, we can take a wider determinant approach, and that's what they've done here, a wider determinant approach on education. You can see that the impact of health on what impact health has got on education, what impact, of course, the conflict itself has got on education. And it is very sobering, I hope. And it mentioned, and Lillian mentions the fact that the CDN is going to build on this backdrop to look into it further. And I also want to just point out that based on the program we have today, the thematic committees, there's actually a thematic committee on education, and I know they're going to speak later on in the day. But I would just want at this point to perhaps best to invite the ladies who actually took part in this, we're lucky to have them here, who actually took part in this work, to come forward and share some of their testimonies. It is there in the program, it says experience sharing. And then this will all add to what Prof. Lillian has been talking about. That gives us now the chance to actually interact with them on question and answers. So if you bear with me, I'll invite the ladies to come forward so they can share their experiences. If they're comfortable there, I'm not sure about it. If you focus the microphone that way, would that be okay? Sorry, not the microphone, the camera. It's up to... Yeah? That's too comfortable, yeah. Okay. Just... So...
Good morning, everyone. Please, before we will say or share our experience, we want all the women in the hall to please stand because we have our anthem. So we'll sing the women's anthem. And the men also, we are accompany. You can just come. So the women, can you come so that our voices will be Rams? Mine no get up again. The song they will do. Okay. All across the nation, all around the world, 1, 2. All across the nation, all around the world, women are longing to be free, no longer in the shadows, forced to stay behind, but side by side in true equality. So sing a song for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere, equality, development, and peace. So sing a song for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere, equality, development, and peace. I think that before we say anything, our sisters from, let us just all stand here. Yes, because it's a group work. No. Us. Because no one did it alone. It was a teamwork, and we are still in a team. And if you could see on our T-shirt, unfortunately some of them did not come with theirs, we said, let the women speak. I know it's a time for experience sharing, but we'll seize the opportunity because we always see spaces, because they never give us spaces, so we seize spaces. So we'll take this opportunity to present to you our little position paper, as we call it. The Coalition of Women Building Peace in Cameroon. Dear organizers of the Southern Cameroon's People's Conference, dear delegates from all over the world, dear well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen, the Coalition of Women Peace Building Network of the Northwest and Southwest is represented from Cameroon by 5 women who have come all the way to commune, to listen, to seek understanding, and to share with you our perspectives from the ground. Having participated in some of the conference meetings, we drew the conclusion that the diaspora was open to meaningful engaging with local communities in defining the purpose of the struggle, as well as how it will be managed moving forward. In the context of the Anglophone crisis, which has endured for over 6 years, the situation remains a deadlock. With a devastating toll of over 6,000 lives lost, the conflict in Cameroon's Anglophone regions have reached an impasse. The unwavering determination of the state armed groups and the non-state armed groups to continue the fight at any cost has resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people and has had a severe impact on education, leaving nearly 600,000 children out without access to schooling. Humanitarian organizations have expressed grave concerns about the dire humanitarian situation prevailing in the affected regions. Aid workers are frequently targeted by conflict parties, making it difficult for them to effectively serve communities in need. Several levels of dialogue have been held by parties involved in the conflict without attaining the desired result in resolving the conflict peacefully. The ongoing conflict has affected women disproportionately, and as Are Elvis Tui, the ICG Senior Consulting Analyst for Cameroon, puts it, some of the violence women have suffered include kidnapping, rape, torture, and execution. He adds, the conflict has destroyed critical medical infrastructure, thereby depriving women of access to health. It has further exposed them to other ills like trafficking and sexual exploitation. It is important to note that women's contribution over the last 7 years of the ongoing conflict has remained consistent on the lines of a peaceful resolution of the conflict, advocating for inclusive and sincere dialogue at all levels, as well as a purposeful and intentional humanitarian response to the need of the ailing population. A background of women's contribution to peace building. Women's participation, involvement, or representation in peace processes within the context of the ongoing conflict remains largely undervalued. As Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, and former Liberian President Ellen Johnson puts it, women are involved as peace or political activists. Others have joined separatist militias or are key community influencers. But whatever side of the divide they are on, Anglophone women in Cameroon have one thing in common. The government and the separatists have largely ignored their concerns. This makes it obvious that women have been an integral part of the process, with or without recognition from stakeholders. Women peace builders, in responding to the ongoing conflict, have done a lot of grassroots activism since 2018 till date, as they organize themselves for different actions. Women have carried out public demonstrations and lamentations, lobby and advocacy actions towards the government, non-state actors, and other diplomatic missions. Women have come up with different position papers, statements, calls, and proposals to improve some actions put in place to resolve the conflict. Acknowledging that conflict is not just a problem within the Northwest and the Southwest region, women have pushed forth womanhood in responding to conflict by engaging with women from diverse backgrounds and political affiliation. Women peace builders have collaborated with Southern Cameroon's women's group to push for an end to hostility within the Anglophone regions, and urge parties to prioritize talks, not blood. In addition, women have worked with all Cameroonian women from the 10 regions to come up with a women's call for peace and a peace treaty. In this document, women have stated their views and serve as a blueprint for stakeholders to engage in a peaceful resolution of the conflict. It is important to note that in all of women's activism for peace, they have been consistent in calling for a peaceful resolution of the conflict as they urge stakeholders to engage in continued dialogue, protection of women, girls, and children from all forms of violence by abiding to the respect of human rights, which will address the increased cases of trauma and mental health breakdown. Increased participation of women in processes as women have their perspective and stakes within the conflict. Respect of children's rights to quality education, for they are the future of our communities. An end to hostilities, killing, arbitrary arrest, kidnapping, and extortion. All of the above notwithstanding, women have always stated their readiness to work with, support, or contribute to any initiative aimed at building just, peaceful, and sustainable communities. As women, we acknowledge the importance of dialogue, since it provides a platform for stakeholders to effectively communicate their needs and aspirations. In line with this, the Women Peace Builders urge all stakeholders to consider the following propositions in their deliberations as they express the need and aspirations of women in our communities. 1, health. Our health services and personnel should not be a target of violence, for primary health care needs to be a reality for all. We expect stakeholders to improve on the provisions of quality and affordable services to reduce infant and maternal mortality rates. Any barriers to accessing these services should be uplifted, and parties should revisit their strategies and make them free of interference in health provisions. Education. Everyone has a right to education that leads to fundamental literacy and the ability to fit in the global space. We expect zero interference with the education of our children, as many actions within the context of the conflict have led to children losing hours of learning, while teachers have also lost their lives. We acknowledge the need for our educational curriculum to be revised to meet global trends and standards. We strongly call on parties to make contributions towards these ameliorations without infringing on the rights of our children to learn and grow. Security. Security is the right of every human, irrespective of their tribe, religion, or political affiliations. We are alarmed by the rising instances of violence and heightened insecurity within our communities. Providing security is our collective responsibility. However, we call on all operating armed groups to prioritize the security of unarmed civilians and develop and publish commitments on how to make our communities secure and safe for humans and their property. Armed groups should respect the human rights of the people and desist from activities that put civilians and humans in general in harm's way. Governance. We acknowledge the fact that governance strategies and their impact on people have always been the starting point of most conflicts. We expect every stakeholder in their governance strategy to be human-centric, participatory, and development-oriented. We also expect women to be part and parcel of decision-making in all governance structures. We expect to see a leadership that does not discriminate, especially based on gender, in terms of frontline leadership, and set out a minimum 30% quota for women. Sexual violence. We are disappointed with the ever-rising instances of sexual violence within the ongoing conflict. Women and girls, unfortunately, have registered so many instances of sexual violence and abuse. Members of armed groups have, with impunity, raped, harassed women and girls, with many instances leading to unplanned parenthood as well as death. We expect to see a signed engagement from all groups on the protection of women and girls from all forms of violence and abuse. Livelihood. Securing the necessity for life is vital for human existence. But livelihood, especially for IDPs and women in general, have become unbearable, difficult, given the ghost town principles, some of which go for as much as 2 weeks. This has led to entrenched poverty amongst the women. We depend on petty trading for subsistence. This limits access to education for their children, and healthcare is complicated with unmet basic needs of food and shelter. We solicit an end to ghost towns, as it affects mainly the low-income strata of the conflict-stricken zones. As we enter a new threshold of dialogue among ourselves, let's admit the failures of the past as an opportunity to chart new paths towards collaborative decision-making rather than stand-alone actions that send wrong signals to civilians on the ground as well as the diplomatic community. Most of all, let's use this opportunity to extend a hand of fellowship to all Anglophones who are refugees in foreign land. Thank you. I will pass on the mic to my sister, because in the paper we talked of women coming together and having envisaged the end of the conflict. We had done a simulation of the conflict with all the parties involved. And fortunately she was a Siseko in that simulation. So I'll hand her the mic for her to talk about the simulation that we did. Thank you very much. Dear brothers and sisters, this is a wonderful opportunity, a long time dream come true, that we women from Ground Zero are standing here today to talk to our brothers and sisters who have been calling the shots as far as the crises are concerned. Today, we are sure that people are going to listen to us and will make informed decisions on the way forward. As my sister has just presented some of the strides that women have done on the ground, I want to continue in a special way with a special presentation that describes a situation that women stepped into. It wasn't easy. I want to start by saying that this was just a simulation. Let us understand the meaning of the word simulation. It means that we acted. It was an imaginary but dreaming, possible strategies to end this crisis, because we, the women, and our children, we are really suffering on the ground. And it is our wish that when you, as we have listened to what she has said, and you will listen to what we, the women from the ground, are proposing, it's going to touch you in a special way and will make you begin to reconsider some of the decisions that you take, at least for our sake, for our safety, and for our survival. So, as she said, amongst the steps that we have taken on the ground has been united activism. So our activism starts from the grassroots, through the regions, even to the national level, so long as we identified as winning strategies. As a winning strategy, we saw the need to belong to a national women's platform for peace. Because as the saying goes, if you truly want peace, then talk to your enemies. If you truly want peace, you need to recruit allies. It is not everybody on the other side that you think is not sympathizing with you. And so talking to many people within our setting has been one of our strategies. And so we found ourselves in the National Women's Platform for Peace, where we collectively organize a women's convention for peace in Cameroon. We are women. We wanted to know how other women feel about the things that happen to us on a daily basis. And so we brought together 1,800 women from all the 10 regions of Cameroon. This happened in Yaoundé at Palais de Congrès, where for 3 days we discussed shared experiences. We cried. We brought IDPs. We brought refugees who shared their experiences. We brought in the diplomatic corps. We brought in the Cameroon government. We brought in the civil society organizations so that people can actually share their pain and say what is happening so that people can be sure of the decisions that they are making. So we had from Akwaya, from Kambe, from far north, from the east. And in this platform, after the 3 days, we came up with a roadmap. We proposed a Cameroon Women's Treaty for Peace, a compact which all of us signed in Cameroon. We are happy to leave you people with a copy so that you can find time to go through it and understand exactly what we are proposing. Then, between 2021 and 2022, through this platform, we were exposed to so many forms of capacity buildings. One thing we have realized is that we didn't know that war was coming. And since war came, and we have to face it, we decided to build our capacities to be able to effectively address what we are seeing. And in that capacity, we have learned peace building, negotiation skills, mediation skills, dialogue. We have learned a lot. Advocacy. We develop advocacy ask. We came here yesterday, asked just one question, and it got us shouting. It was simple. What is the strategy, protection strategy that you are putting in place? Because we have learned how to frame these things and put them straight. It has taken us a long time. With all these skills, we decided to imagine what a peaceful negotiation will look like between the Cameroon government and the separatist fighters. It was a wild dream, very wild. But we took time. We're only going to fit our legs into the shoes of the real characters. So somebody had to become the president of the republic. He's our president, so we live with him and we know what he says and how he says it. We read all of what Siseko Ayoktabe says, everything. Listen to what Cho Ayaba says. We followed Chris Ano, and people were ready to fit into their shoes to act exactly as they usually act. For 3 days, for 3 good days, it was a full simulation situation where we assumed we had somebody who was, the United Nations was represented, so Antonio Guterres was there. He opened the session. We imagined what he would say, and he was set. The diplomatic corps was all there. They were seated. The government was there. They watched it. After that, we broke into 3 rooms. We gave a room for the crisis in the north, Boko Haram. Let them discuss how they think they can solve it. There was a room for the crisis in the east. The center of the crisis in the east is resources. It's a scramble over resources between the refugees and the Cameroonians, the inhabitants. Then we came to the northwest, southwest crisis, the Anglophone crisis. We wanted to give a holistic approach to our peace building strategies. We didn't want to look like we're leaving out any issue of peace building in Cameroon. But we understand that to address these different crises, we will need different people, different methods, because the impact is different. So the first ever national women's negotiations for peace in Cameroon, a roadmap for achieving peace in the northwest and southwest regions in Cameroon. The negotiation simulation of the northwest and southwest regions is a result of the Anglophone crisis, which has come to a deadlock. Limited attempts have been made at negotiating. Talks mediated by Switzerland in 2019 ultimately failed, and the Amazonian leadership crisis has complicated issues. Still in 2019, separatist leaders who were extradited from Nigeria in 2018 were handed life sentences by the military tribunal. However, with mounting international pressure for global ceasefire in July 2020, Cameroon began negotiating with these imprisoned leaders. The talks were held between Siseko Julius Ayoktabe and the other imprisoned leaders and the representatives of the Cameroon government. During the talks, a series of conditions were outlined for Cameroon government to accept, which, according to Ayoktabe, would create an enabling environment for sustainable negotiations to occur. However, there was a heavy backlash among the hardline government actors under the questioning of the legacy of Ayoktabe to speak on behalf of the separatist movement, leading to a stop in the talks. The most ambitious attempt of the civil society actors for an inclusive negotiation process has been the plan to hold an all-Anglophone conference. In July 2018, Anglophone religious leaders, Catholic, Protestants, and Muslim, announced a plan to hold an all-Anglophone conference as the first step towards an inclusive national dialogue, which was postponed severally as it faced strong opposition from the government. Against this background, the National Women's Convention for Peace in Cameroon organized the first ever National Women's Negotiation for Peace in Cameroon, which brought together key actors from the Cameroon government, non-state armed groups, the Anglophone community, and civil society organizations to develop a roadmap to peace. The negotiation simulation was based on status and power sharing, humanitarian situation, DDR, and the community violence reduction, reconciliation, and economic development. The negotiation simulation between Cameroon government and the non-state armed groups was coordinated by 3 international mediators who moderated the debates on the pertinent issues underlining the Anglophone crisis. The debates were heated, and the outcome of the negotiation is a roadmap that addresses the demands of both the government and the non-state armed groups, with a commitment to ensure the successful implementation of the roadmap. As I said, it's a simulation. It's a women's wildest dream. A bird's eye view. And just to say that we had our GC standing here being one of the international mediators who traveled all the way from Switzerland to come for that activity. This was Dr. Munzo. And this was
Ayabacho.
Yes. Unfortunately, not everyone got a visa to come here, but we had people who acted the part of the Prime Minister of the Republic, our famous brother Atanganji Paul. Yeah, people acted all. Then we had people representing the church. Yes, we had people representing the churches. We had we had people representing the religious. We had people representing the women's groups and their concerns. We had no pity in the room who kept on threatening to kidnap people. We had Chris Anno. We had a lady who mastered everything that Chris Anno said or says. And we can really remember when somebody said we cannot sit on the same table with the government that toasts the brains and breasts of women on the streets. And yesterday when somebody was talking here, I was listening and I was getting now I say, yes, it's true, we can read about people and act like them.
You say you have given us regional councils. Where is our financial autonomy?
Those were the questions that we were asking the government.
Please, can we stay along the lines of our agreement?
Madam Moderator, we came here to talk. Allow us to.
If I hear you well, please.
You are making as if you have been bought over, Madam.
Let us respect our rules. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. As we said, these are just synopsis of how that day looked like. It was really heated.
They told me I was bought.
She was bought
in simulation. No.
So what were the general agreements? 1, both parties agreed on the need to a ceasefire. Both parties committed to inclusive dialogue and negotiation with accredited mediators. 2, we have now specific thematic agreements. 1, status and power sharing. The status of the Northwest and Southwest regions have been at the heart of the conflict since the unification of British Cameroon and French Cameroon into federation in 1961, and following a unilateral
referendum on May 20, 1972, a new constitution was adopted which replaced the federal state with a unitary state, and the country was renamed the United Republic of Cameroon. There was therefore a dilemma as to the status and power sharing. While the government of Cameroon emphasized on one and indivisible Cameroon, the non-state armed groups diverged between secession, a two-state federation, and a 10-state federation. However, the government is open-minded on issues that do not touch the form of the state, and therefore open to discuss various forms of decentralization. However, the actors agreed on an inclusive dialogue for further discussion with unconditional release of prisoners of conscience, granting amnesty to all Southern Cameroonians abroad. To all Southern Cameroonians, yeah. 2, humanitarian situation. The population of the Northwest and Southwest regions are in a compelling situation due to the ongoing violence which has led to heavily displacement of persons, negatively impacting the possibilities to make a living. The majority of those displaced by the crisis are women and children. In both regions, civilians and children, properties and basic services, facilities, including healthcare and education, have been subjected to attacks. After heated debates, both parties agreed that, are we together? There should be access to humanitarian aid to reach the vulnerable populations. Considering the misunderstandings between international organizations and local partners, there is need to put in place an efficient coordination of actions destined to relieve distressed populations. 3, DDR and community violence reduction. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration is a process through which members of non-state armed groups are encouraged to lay down their weapons and return to civilian life. It is a complex process that engages political, security, social, and economic dimensions aimed at creating an environment where peace process, political and social reconciliation, as well as sustainable development can occur. After heated debates, both parties prescribed 1, withdrawal of forces by both parties with exception to those maintaining law and order. The centers should be made more attractive to encourage others to lay down their arms. A redoubling of efforts towards ensuring an effective reinsertion of the ex-combat. Develop diverse programs that will benefit the ex-combat and better integrate them into the society. Ex-combatants who have been in the centers for long should be reintegrated into communities for further, remove it. 4th, where is it? Okay. The 4th point was reconciliation, and I want to remember the arguments during reconciliation. Please, madam, stop. When we go to our country, we'll learn how to reconcile. The ongoing conflict has affected the lives of hundreds of thousands of Cameroonians. Separatists targeted civilians, including workers, students, and teachers, while enforcing a boycott on children's education. Security forces have also committed a succession of abuses, including the killing of civilians, sexual harassment, and torture of suspected collaborators with separatist groups. As pathways to peace, after consultation, we agreed on an all-inclusive dialogue during which actors will propose strategies for peaceful coexistence. Economic development. The Anglophone crisis is having huge economic and financial repercussions. Cameroon's gross domestic product growth rate was 5.8 in 2015, prior to the crisis, but dropped to 3.9 in 2019 and 3.5 in 2022. The internet shutdown seriously affected Cameroon's economic growth with an estimated loss of 499 billion francs CFA, 846 million US dollars. The ghost towns, with restrictions on movements and existing insecurity, are affecting business transactions by slowing down the flow of goods, people, and services. Businesses and transport vehicles that do not respect ghost town days, have been threatened, targeted, and burnt down. Security forces have also been accused of vandalizing and burning villages, thereby paralyzing businesses in the northwest and southwest regions. To revive the economy and rebuild infrastructure, both parties proposed to abolish ghost towns and lockdowns, stop attacking markets, hospitals, and schools, stop numerous roadblocks and checkpoints by the military, and stop arbitrary arrests. This peace agreement has been approved and signed this 21st September 2022 in Germany on the occasion of the World Day of Peace by leaders of the government of Cameroon, leaders of the Amazonian groups, representatives of the non-state armed groups, representatives of the women's groups, civil societies, international observers, and the international mediators. Thank you. There's just one last part of it, sorry. Okay. The negotiations were not generally open to the public. Instead, the entire event was live streamed so that everyone, people all around the world, could observe in Cameroon and abroad, including non-state armed groups, fugitives from justice, and potentially people in prisons and places of deliberations. A number of observers were invited to attend the in-person, members of the diplomatic corps, the representative of the international organizations in Yaoundé, members of the government, representatives of political parties, and the trade union, amongst others. So key government observers: Mrs. Betando, who represented the Prime Minister, Professor Marie-Thérèse Abena Ondwa, Minister of Women's Promotion of Women and the Family. Key diplomatic observers were His Excellency Richard Barley, High Commissioner of Canada, His Excellency Philip Van Doon, Ambassador of the European Union, His Excellency Dr. Corina Frinchke, Ambassador of Germany, His Excellency Christopher Lamora, Ambassador of the United States of America. Key international observers, Mr. Mr. Cabral Libi, President of the Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation, Mr. Joshua Osi, First Vice President of the Social Democratic Front. So thank you so much.
Okay, I just want to add that in case of, as she talked about capacity building, I think the women are ready to step in. I'm very sorry to say this, but the men have failed us. And we, the women, are taking it over. And when we say we are taking it over, it's because we know we have the capacity. at least trainings from Swiss Peace, from the United Nations, because in Cameroon, the United Nations have trained, I think, 5 women on ceasefire negotiation mediation from the Department of Political and Peace Building Affairs. The whole of Cameroon, 5 women have been trained for that. And we are so lucky we have 3 of them that are from the English-speaking area. It's from the Southwest and the Northwest. So those are assets that we, the women, we will use. And we are begging on the men not to think that we want to challenge them, or not to think that we want to overthrow them, but that we will take the lead to this negotiation or process, then they will accompany us. Woman A. Woman A. Woman A. Action now. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share our Ground Zero experiences. We believe that because you have listened to the efforts we have been doing, we know that we have received criticisms from time to time, and I always say that they are criticizing us because they have not heard from us. They haven't heard our own part of the story. We are open to corridor discussion for us to tell you more of the things we have been doing and how we have been engaging. Some of the things we might not have done them rightly, but what is important is with us is that we don't stop. We keep trying. And what we put at the center is humanity. Our focus is humanity. As we say all the time, we are pleading with you. It looks like some broken record that we are always saying, something that you are tired of hearing but will not be tired of saying until we can sleep in peace. Please, we are begging. Consider the sleepless nights that we have in Ground Zero. Consider the old people who cannot run away. Consider the children who cannot take a decision on their own. As you listen to our efforts, please make informed decisions. We are happy to see you coming together to chart the way, and we are actually praying and pleading that everyone who is truly out to solve this problem should just be coming together. Thank you, people, for the effort. It's just one step, but we are sure that we are moving towards the right direction.
Thank you. Dear comrades, I was here in 2021. I saw what actually happens in the room. Diversity. So I just want to congratulate all of us this year because we have come and we are talking like one. So as we'll be going back, I personally am very proud because we have seen blood, we have lived it, we have buried our children, our husbands. And back home, as I said the other day, I'm sure if you are taken back home, people will just scatter. Those of you in the diaspora, because they think that all those things that are happening is because of you. But today, as we are going back, I'm proud to tell people that at least you are working to see that we come together and solve the problem that we have home. But I'm still pleading for all who are still outside. We are suffering because maybe we come and sit here and decide. We say, okay, no ghost towns tomorrow. When the boys or the government, the other parties, they misinterpret it. And who suffers? Us, our children. When we are talking of schooling, I am a teacher. last year, I had to keep children in my own house. I struggled to teach them. I could not cope. I struggled to support them alone. Back home, anybody, if you believe me or not, if you are earning a salary of 20,000, you are being considered maybe somebody who is very rich, because all the others, they look up to you. You cannot take care of your own self. You cannot take care of your own family, but you have a very large family to take care of. So I'm still pleading for those who are still out, who has not joined us, that they should have empathy. They should sympathize with the population. We are the ones suffering back at the grassroots. So I want to thank you, and I pray that the good God will continue to touch all our hearts to keep on forging till when we'll succeed. Thank you.
I also want to take this opportunity to thank the United Nations Women, Peace and Humanitarian Fund that has made it possible for us to be here, because they funded our trip for us to be here. And through the assistance of ICANN. So we want to really acknowledge them, because without ICANN and the Women, Peace and Humanitarian Fund, we wouldn't have been here. We probably would have the visa, but every other thing would have been possible. And for that, we're supposed to be 10, but nature has it that, or whatever, God has it that way. And we still say that we want to join our voices to say that while there is still a face, let's look at the table. Let's focus on the table. Because, as she said, the masses, which are the voiceless, are getting tired. Because there is no future. Let us not focus on the past, because we will not meet the future. Let's look at the future generation, and let's target the table. It is not an easy decision, we know, but I always say that be the bigger one to go to the table. That doesn't mean that you're weak, but it means you're the stronger one. To take that kind of decision is because you have looked behind and see the people and say, let us look at the people as at now, and let's put the people. So let's go for a dialogue. We the women, because we have said that we have, from all our analysis, they don't want a third party, an external third party. But we the women are taking that lead to be the insider mediators. If people give us that leeway, we will try our most possible best with the help of God to bring all of the conflicting parties on the table. We are ready to do that if we are given that go-ahead, that let us come to the table, because it's all on the table that a lot of things will be made straight. It might not go 100% your way or 100% the government's way, but it would take us away. We will have a midpoint. For the sake of the people, the suffering people, I can have my means and leave. What about that mother in the village that has no means to leave? What happens to her? What happens to her children? All of us here can leave anytime that would decide. But they will have thousands of people that will not make a move out of their village. Please, we are on our knees. We are begging. We are begging. We are begging you people. We are begging. As women, as mothers, we are begging. We are losing out. We are begging. As I say, if it gets to your neighbor, know it is your neighborhood. And you are not free from it. Let's look at the table. Let's look at the table. For now, thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very. If I can just state a little bit. The reason, if you look at the screen, it's all gone on fire. There is all you can see how the impact that you've created. you can see. So we're going to take some questions, and I hope Prof is actually there, because I will expect Prof to be able to, Prof Lillian, I'm referring to Lillian Atanga, because this particular slot, this particular slot was effectively orchestrated by the grassroots work of Professor Lillian and her team, as you've seen here. I think it's important that you've raised the question about the thing about dialogue, calling for it. I'm not talking for anyone, but my perception, remember I said yesterday that why I feel we are now making this serious stride, because most of us who talk to people, there's this question I keep saying, Thibaut Nagy said it yesterday, we heard again from back to Toronto 1, the question I summarized as on va dialoguer avec qui et sur quoi. We're going to dialogue with who and on what. So you can see, and that's why I said that the legitimacy has emerged. That's what we've seen from this conference. That's what we've seen, the powerful voices of the lady, the women's voices. So, but it is important that we recognize the fact that there is the journey to where we're heading to. It's got a whole range of wider determinants. So it's important that we recognize the women's voices, and we've seen here par excellence. But I want to just say that there are a lot of questions, and I want to urge those who are actually wanting to join in to ask questions, please, can you make sure that you're registered online, and that you also make sure that we can see you, because you're actually seeing us here talking to you. So it's important that we can see you. We'll ensure that we give the chance to those who are actually, we can see them, so that they can actually be given the chance to speak. So I want to ask but even before that, let us look at here. I think there is, I want to find out if, where's Tony? Would you like to give, I hate to use the expression right to reply, but I think it's important for balance that we try and do a bit of right to reply. And please, can we just focus on some of the issues, and then I know how
I would love to speak. I need the camera to focus on me standing by the flag, please. Am I on? Right, so I came here to Toronto as a Southern Cameroonian and Ambazonian to participate in this conference, which every single citizen of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonian has a right to. And one of the interesting things about all of us Southern Cameroonian and Ambazonians coming together is that everybody brings their perspective. The women have just presented their perspective, and they have also said that they were sponsored by the United Nations Women, Peace and Humanitarian Fund. And we thank the United Nations for sending these women here to come and present their perspective. But I want to stand here as a Southern Cameroonian Ambazonian to let the world know that when we come here, the position of Southern Cameroon Ambazonia is that the Federal Republic of Southern Cameroon Ambazonia will happen, come rain or shine. So this is something that we have to understand, that we are here in order to promote the fact that Southern Cameroon Ambazonian is a state that will come alive, come rain or shine. And that is my response to this.
Yeah, can I just say that this is the Southern Cameroon People's Conference. So, and we can see here the legitimacy that's emerging. So we respect, it's a wider determinant approach, you respect. I will come to you, please bear with me, I will come to you. But it's important that we can see the screen is on fire. So I'm going to ask Lillian, Prof, I will suggest that you essentially take, Lillian, are you following me?
Yes.
So I would suggest that you actually, you can see the screen.
Yes.
So can you just tell us who you would like to actually intervene at this? We're taking questions.
So we have on screen, again, in conformity with the rules and regulations, Prof. Lillian are going to help us guide. We're going to take 3 questions. I believe we have in this order, Lehman, Francis Mba, and Dennis Atemkeng. So, Prof. Lillian, over to you then. We have these 3 hands up, and these are 3 registered members. and we can see them on camera. So please, if you want to participate in this, make sure you're registered, number one. Number two, make sure we can see you, the person asking the question, on camera. And number three, there is no number three. So over to you. Yeah, you have to have your right name on the camera. So thanks, Comrade Lehman, for putting your right name. We couldn't make you out there for a second. So, Comrade Lehman, you go first. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you guys very much. Can you hear me?
I'm asking Comrade Allen. He said I should speak, then turn back to
Sorry, Comrade Lillian, yeah, I was just going by the, since you have the names, okay, you go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wasn't. I would like for the woman to come first. I'm sorry to be biased this time. Jed, can you come on?
Hi, thanks, Prof. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
I hear you, Jess. Please move on.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the guys in the hall can hear us clearly. Comrade Allen, can you confirm? Okay, cool. All right, so my name is Jessie Itambi, Comrade Jessie Itambi, and I'm hoping that our awesome ladies, they can see me on the screen. I'm going to speak as the spokesperson of Southern Cameroon's Women's Group. I'm going to speak as a spokesperson of Southern Cameroon's Women's League, SCOUT. And I think that it is apt for me to speak to our ladies as one women's group to the other. First of all, I really, really appreciate the fact that our women from Cameroon, back home ground zero, were able to join us. I appreciate the sacrifice they made, and again, want to appreciate the UN for sponsoring their trip. The reason why we're having this conference is to hear from every stakeholder, whether you're in ground zero, ground one, diaspora, wherever in the diaspora you are, whether you are incarcerated or wherever you might be. So it is very, very, very fulfilling to have our women from ground zero addressing us here today. And you've said quite a lot of very, very valuable stuff. You've made some really valuable input that nobody can take away from you. Before I dive into some of that, first of all, I love the fact that you did your presentation with quite a lot of flair. You did your presentation there with quite a lot of passion and quite a lot of, how we women do it. And that was really awesome to see. I love the fact that you guys did role playing in your assimilation of what is of a scenario, because what you did was you took one scenario and you played it out and you came out with possible solutions. So that's awesome. You've made some really valuable input. You spoke about the impact on schools and health and all of that, and that is apt. The research you did, thank you for carrying out that research on behalf of the city, and that is really, really important. We need to know these facts so that we know how to proceed. So I'm just going to speak to some of the things that you raised, some of the things that I know a lot of people really want to touch on. And the one thing that you did say, which I totally agree with you, first of all, a number of people might come at you, bashing you for even having an all Cameroon women's conference, but I'm going to tell you this, and it comes from a phrase that you used. You did say, if you want peace, you have to talk to your enemies, and you couldn't have put it any better. At the end of the day, if you want peace, you need to know what your enemy is thinking. You need to know how your enemy is feeling about that which you're going through. You need to know where their heads are at. And you having that, being part of that All Cameroon Women's Conference, I think that is apt. And I'm glad that you do identify yourself as coming from Southern Cameroon, which is super important. Even if you didn't say so, we all know that you are from Southern Cameroon, right? So, like you said, everything we do, we should do it with humanity at the core. And I think that speaking as an Amazonian woman, speaking as the spokesperson for SCAO, which I really didn't take permission to do, but understandably, Humanity is the core of everything that we do. Is at the core of everything that we do. You see, when you say women are taking over, I promise you the Ambazonian women are taking over. There's a reason why you have quite a lot of Southern Cameroon's women at that conference you are seated at right now. There's a reason why you have a lot of Ambazonian women attending this conference on Zoom, on Facebook, on YouTube, and wherever this is being broadcasted. So yes, you are absolutely right. And I do believe that in every area of life, it has been proven that when women take over leadership, things Sorry, there was a call. So it really doesn't matter where we take over. We should take over so that we can make whatever areas of our life, whatever community we are in, better. And the Ambazonian woman is at Toronto today because they know that they have to play a more central role in the revolution. They know that they have to be at the front and center, and that's part of the reason why we're here today. Now, I'm going to talk to a couple of things that you brought up. You said you did advocate. Remember, you're making suggestions. You recommended that ghost towns should be abolished. I am going to be frank with you. That's not going to happen. And we can get into the discussion of why not. But the one thing that I do agree with you when it comes to ghost towns is that when we do sanction additional ghost towns on top of the regular Monday ghost towns that we have, there must be a clear-cut reason for it, and humanity and our people's welfare should be at the core of that. So totally agree with you that the length of some of these ghost towns needs to be revisited, needs to be reviewed so that it minimizes the harmful and negative impact it has on our people. That we agree. But the whole recommendation of us abolishing ghost town is the one thing that La Republic government wants to see us abolish so that they can claim victory. And we are not at that point. We are not giving them that victory because they have had no victory yet. So that's the one thing. Now, the other thing that you did speak about was that we should look forward. And I totally agree. We are here today at SCPC. It is a reset conference for the people of Ambazonia. It is a reset conference for the people of Southern Cameroon. And I'm sure when you decided to come to this conference, you knew that this was a Southern Cameroon People's Conference. So obviously it is a reset conference for the people of Southern Cameroon, and which you are part of. And we are resetting. And thank you for coming so that we can reset together. We can understand the trials on the ground. We can take input from different stakeholders and make the best of it. Now, looking at the past, the only reason why we are here today is because we have been looking at the past. In one of your closing remarks, you say we should forget about the past. I am sorry. You cannot forget about the past, because the moment you forget about the past, then you have no idea where you need to go. So we need to constantly remind ourselves of the treachery of La République du Cameroon. We need to constantly remind ourselves of the oppression of La République du Cameroon, of the dubiousness of La République du Cameroon, of the fraud of La République du Cameroon, of the massacre and the genocide of La République du Cameroon. We cannot afford to forget that past. That past that we must remember is that which is going to guide us to make sure that we chart a path forward that is going to work for the people of Southern Cameroon, that is going to save the people of Southern Cameroon, and that is going to ensure that those dubious, treacherous, and murderous tactics of La République du Cameroon do not come back to haunt us or haunt our future generations. So yes, we cannot forget our past. We totally understand what you are trying to say, but I'm saying that as the people of Ambazonia, our past is that which defines our future. Now, the reason why we're here is we do have our internal problems, I guarantee you that. And one of the reasons why we're here today is because we're also looking at the past of our internal problems. What problems have we had as a people, and how can we address these problems? That is the only reason why we say the past is just as important as the future, if we want one. And then I'm going to go to negotiation. You spent quite a bit of time talking about that. And in your scenario plan, in which you explained how you acted it up and spoke a little bit about financial autonomy in the regional balance thing, whatever decentralization, blah, blah, that La République talks about. First of all, It takes two parties to negotiate. Now, what I would have loved to see in your report, I would have loved to see you lay the blame for lack of negotiation where it is due. I would have loved to see you call out La République purely, completely for refusing to sit on the table. You see that table you're calling us to sit on? We have been on that table since the 80s. We have been there. We've been on that table since the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. There is proof of us always. Foncha himself kept calling for them to come back and rediscuss the issues. In the 70s and the 80s, that did not happen. You know the fraud that happened in 1972. They have ever since they refused to discuss that. So the issue of negotiation, it takes two people who are willing to negotiate. But I'm going to give you recent examples which we are all aware of, so that we don't go digging into history. Now let's take the Swiss botched effort, right? The HD botched effort. Now it is alleged, right? The HD itself says that La République did approve and did come to them and get them to attend this, but La République, in every single sitting that HD organized, La République refused to come to the table. Completely, acted as though they had no idea. Their minister of, I don't know which one, communication, actually said they had no idea. They are not a participant at whatever talks are happening at, with the Swiss. They have not authorized any talks to take place. So every time there's a call to come to the table, we are the ones that have been calling. Now, let me give you a most recent example. A few months ago, our comrades, our leaders were in Canada on behest of the Canadian government. We representatives from La République du Cameroon, straight from Yaoundé, straight from the Prime Minister's office. Conversations were held. There was some tentative agreement on way forward. These were pre-talks. A couple of weeks later, La République sends out a message to say they were never part of any talks in Canada. They did not know what the Canadian government is talking about. Now you tell me, in your report, why did you not blatantly and bluntly call out La République for refusing over a decade to sit on the table to talk with the people of Southern Cameroon? You see, when you say forget our past, we cannot forget our past, because that history, which is our past, is the basis of this. La République knows that it has no leg to stand on. That is why it is refusing to come to the table. So if there is any party, any stakeholder to this conflict that you need to pull to the table, I suggest you know who. They are the people sitting in Yaoundé. Those are the ones. The next time you go for a conference in Yaoundé, those are the ones you need to talk to about the need to come to the table, because I promise you, like my comrade just said, we are not going anywhere until we get that which the people of Ambazonia deserve. Now, when you talk about, and I heard someone say that the question has always been dialogue with whom, which is funny, because you see, in Canada recently, now when they were talking to His Excellency Sisiko Ayok Tabe, they didn't question that. If La République can know who to arrest and lock up in Condé, how can they not know who to dialogue with? That is the most BS excuse you can think of. La République knows exactly who to lock up. Now, assuming that the too much noise that also comes from the Ambazonian side itself gave them a way out of the negotiations that they did not even want to have in the first place. When Sisiko Ayok Tabe put out those points as preconditions, did La République ever come back with a counter precondition? No. These are not people that are willing to talk. In negotiation, it's a give and take. It's a, I want this, no, I want that, I can only give you this. That is what it is about. That's why they call it a negotiation. Even if they are pre-talks negotiation, that's what it is. Now, look at Canada, for example. The Ambazonian team that went there to sit at that table with the Canadian government and La République government were united. They were speaking as one. They had their agenda. They were a unit. So La République, seeing that this time around, they cannot go playing games. They cannot go poking holes and causing disunity and causing this one to say, no, I was not on the table, so this cannot work. That's why it ran away with its tail between its legs, saying that they were never in Canada when we all know they were in Canada. So I we applaud your efforts. I promise you, everything that you do, look, we are all children of Southern Cameroons. We are all children of Ambazonia. You are our mothers. You are our sisters. The boys that have been gone down on a daily basis are our brothers. They are our sons. They are our husbands. We want this just as much as you do. We want peace just as much as you do. But peace without justice for us is going to be the end of the people of Ambazonia. That is a mistake we cannot afford to have. So I love the fact that you're calling for peace, but you need to include justice in that sentence, because peace without justice is a no-go for Ambazonia. And there is a saying that the absence of war doesn't mean peace. That's what La Republique is trying to sell. La Republique wants the war to end so that they can go preach that there is peace. The absence of war is not an indication of peace in itself. We were never at peace before 2016. We were never at peace. We have never been at peace as a people. And you know that, I know that, so we cannot afford to pretend anymore. I just have one question. I know I've said a lot of things, but those are just comments. But I have one question for you. When you went to the conference in Yaoundé, the all-women conference, you said you wanted to, you cannot, if you want peace, you need to talk to your enemies. Now, we have all been watching out. The women of French Cameroon, other than a handful of them, which we can count with this one hand of mine, these 5 fingers, they're not even up to, have come out to condemn the atrocities that are committed, the genocide of the people of Ambazonia by the government of La Republique. You have a handful of them. When you went into this conference, and this is a question that you need to give us an honest answer to, what is the general concern or the general thought of La Republique women around the suffering of our people? Because I believe if they felt any iota of empathy, they would have spoken up. The conference you went to was talking Boko Haram and Eastern, so yeah, everything is all mixed up. But what was their concern as far as the people of Ambazonia are concerned? Do they even know what is going on? Do they even care? I would like you to tell us exactly what their thinking is in that area.
The backwood.
Thank you.
Comrade Lehman, you have the floor. We'll take 3 questions. After Comrade Lehman, we'll take the next question, then they answer together. Comrade Lehman. Comrade Lehman, did you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was on mute. First of all, I really want to thank you guys for the presentation. And I don't really know which is your specialty, but you guys made some horrible mistakes that almost left me petrified. And I just want to go ahead. I will do a series of corrections, and then I'll ask my questions. So I'll plead, if you have a pen and paper, you write it down so you have it word verbatim. So the first thing I want to correct from the get-go is that we are not involved in the Anglophone crisis in La République du Cameroon. La République du Cameroon is a separate country from the Republic of Ambazonia, or what we used to call the former Republic of Southern Cameroons. These are 2 separate countries, okay, by law, by history, by facts. If you go to 1961, there was a UN vote at the General Assembly that grants the Republic of Southern Cameroon as a sovereign state that joined another sovereign state that had its own independence prior to that. So let's never make that mistake again. The second mistake which I want to highlight, which is very, very pertinent, we understand, is that the conflict is between 2 of these states that came together. Now they are having conflicts. And when we talk about it, what we should never do is call our fight, the Ambazonian Restoration Forces, non-state actors. They are not non-state actors. They are subjugated state actors. because they are fighting under the flag of a country that was voted legally by law. So we should never make that mistake again. And then the next one I want to go, the third one, is the idea of government schools. Ambazonia doesn't have government schools operating in Ambazonia. We have public schools funded by taxpayers' money, okay? The state controls it. So we have public schools. When you call it a government school, that is when people might mistakenly attack the schools and thinking that the government implanted those schools. No, the regime of La République du Cameroun that occupies the territory will come and it will leave. The schools will be there. And when we restore our state, the public will continue to access those schools. We should correct that. And then in your presentation, you guys made some really, I don't know if it was an error. You stated that Ambazonian fighters were raping, doing all these things. No, Ambazonian fighters don't rape. We have, before the conflict started, Ambazonians still had rapists. We had thieves. We had our own vices. Ambazonia as a society is not a monolith. We don't have monopoly over criminals. Ambazonia have criminals. The United States have criminals. All over the world, we have rapists, child molesters, and all those things. So to impute the fighters, the Ambazonian freedom fighters, as those causing rape, arson on schools, and all the rest is a bad indictment, which you guys should never do again. You guys don't have any facts to prove it, okay? Never try to do that anymore. We know that there were cases of violence against women, children, but none of us have done a research or an investigation to indict anyone. So coming in a conference internationally watched and calling Ambazonians or pointing fingers at Ambazonian fighters for committing those crimes is a great disservice to the people sacrificing their lives. This was an unprovoked war on the people. And following the United Nations right, we have a right to defend ourselves. The right to life, liberty, and prosperity is extended to all, without regards to race, color, or creed. Ambazonians don't have to sit quiet and their parents being burned in the bushes and stuff like that. We have the right to defend our families. The right to life is a universal human right. So you guys should learn and correct that mistake.
Quickly, since this one points to me, I don't know if I should answer or give it the third person.
No, I think I want to correct those mistakes. Then I'll ask you guys a few questions. I'm just doing corrections. That's why I'm asking you to note it down. It's not a question. I'm stating facts. Now, coming to the scenario planning, I will just say that was an exercise. I'm not going to comment on it because I understand that they were just saying things they hope would happen. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to say anything about it. So we all should be very, very clear. This is an Ambazonian conference. This conference does not give legitimacy to anything or to anyone. We are coming here to lay a foundation on how Ambazonians will come together moving forward to collaborate with each other. We are not here to say we are creating legitimacy for those who go and represent Ambazonia. No, we don't have that power. None of us, even the group leaders, don't have the power to negotiate on behalf of Ambazonia. They were not voted in the democratic elections. The only thing they can do is they have the right to call a ceasefire, and the people of Ambazonia shall determine in an exclusive referendum to restore their statehood, because we follow international laws. We are not going by people's feelings or by who you support or the group. This thing about Ambazonians have legitimacy to negotiate. No Ambazonian can decide for 8 million people. They don't have the popular mandate to decide. They don't have the electoral mandate, and they don't have no legitimacy to sit on any table and say, I want to decide for 8 million people, because none of them were voted. And the rule of law applies to all Ambazonians. There is no exception. Just because we are in a war, there will not be an exception that some few individuals who have 3 members in their groups will sit on a table and claim to negotiate on behalf of a sovereign state that is being subjugated. And now, not to monopolize it, I want to ask a simple question. And this question will go express to the CDN, and it's going to go to the organizers. I have seen the organizers barely in this conference. I've seen the CDN trying to push their stuff. I want to tell the CDN that I respect what you guys are doing, but this conference was not about the CDN and its humanitarian work. This conference was about Ambazonians coming together, charting the way forward on how to speak in one voice. That's the first thing. 2, on how to represent themselves so that we all can come together and present the right to self-determination. So my question is, I want us to redefine, can we redefine where this conference is going? Because I think we are going off the rail. That is my question. Can we redefine this conference? Because this presentation by the women was not necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Lehman. I will address the comments that were directed to me. And I think you did not listen properly, or you did not watch my slides properly. I acknowledge first your correction on public schools. That I totally acknowledge 100%. And I'll do that correction on the documentation. However, on the issue of rape, burning, abuses, if you noticed, I gave statistics on schools burned, I gave statistics on people raped, I gave statistics on hospitals and human resources, but I at no point indicated who committed the atrocities. If you like, I can put back the slide for you to see and point out where I said Ambazonians raped people. So don't misrepresent me. I gave statistics on rape, and I said the statistics are not even up to date. On the question of CDN, I also think you are misrepresenting. This conference started on Thursday. The first time anything has been mentioned with regard to CDN is this report that I gave. And I think it is nothing wrong to give a field research report for people to understand. I simply acknowledge CDN because they are the ones who funded the activity. CDN, you have not seen any moderators who are CDN. You have not seen organization on the floor list, and please do not misrepresent. On the question of the women coming, I have no comment on that, so I'll leave that. But before we go, let me take the last question on this slot, and I would like to give the floor to Mr. Joseph Chenso. You have the floor. Mr. Joseph, can you unmute yourself and speak?
I think I've done. Are you hearing me? Can you get me now, please?
Yes, hear you now.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor today to speak to this conference. Before I continue, I think I will applaud Comrade Jess, because most of the things that I wanted to say, he trashed it very, very eloquently. Thank you, Comrade Jess. But there's something that I also want to talk about, the arrogance of those women who came to speak here. Our children are dying, brothers, sisters, mothers are dying. They come stage, I don't know, they're loving a scenario, forgetting to know that we are here because we are suffering. Notwithstanding that, they don't even have respect for our leaders. You see somebody like Excellency Sekutabe, they just call him Julius.
Comrade Joseph,
yeah.
I'm sorry for interjecting. One of the things that we really request, being a respectable conference, we want to be respectful We want to be respectful to anybody who is participating.
Good. It's exactly, I'm talking about the very respect you are talking about. Because I saw a lack of respect to our leaders. You cannot stand in front of the whole world and address Excellency Ayuk Tabe as Julius Ayuk Tabe, or you call Chris Anu, or you call Ayabacho without putting even a Mr. in front of it. That's what I'm talking about, this respect. I don't know why you did not correct them when they were doing that. Okay, then.
If I may also interrupt, please, can we just ask questions?
Okay, excuse me. I'll ask my question. I want to ask a very good question. Yeah.
Please.
Because I saw people crying on the stage there. I just want to ask, how many demonstrations have we seen these ladies carried on the street of Yaoundé to tell the Yaoundé regime, the junta, that their children are dying, their mothers are dying, their fathers are dying? Why come here and shed crocodile tears if you cannot carry just a simple demonstration on the streets of Yaoundé? That is my question.
Thank you very much. I will stop now and give. I think most of the questions asked to the women are not even questions of them to respond. Just any response from them, I believe, will only ask for more questions. I do think that we want to ask questions that build. We came to this conference with a 9-point thematic, and I do like the way just put for questions. Can we look for opportunities and focus on them rather than only focus on the negatives? Comrade pointed something. They are public schools, they are not government schools, which is very good. It's something that had never crossed my mind. Those are the kinds of things I want to see us do. Construct. So I'm begging for the next people to ask questions, who are going to ask questions, questions on which we can build. How many times do we refer to Donald Trump, for example, as Donald Trump? So let's focus on substantive issues. We do not have a lot of time. I'm very sure that very soon Fuase is going to stop this question and answer. So I'm going to give the opportunity to the next three people, who are Denis Atemkem, Jojo Ambassador, and Ignatius Atekwana. Let's start with Denis Atemkem, then after Jojo Ambassador, please.
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to, first of all, appreciate the women for the effort they have made. Unfortunately, we came here believing that we were coming to a Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia conference in which we will be strategizing on how to come together to fight the common enemy, La République du Cameroon, which has annexed and illegally occupied our country. Unfortunately, what I am seeing now is that we were deceived. We have found a group of Cameroon women who are here telling us about how we should be mindful of the suffering on the ground. We are not unmindful at all. We are not unmindful. But I want to say that no people will accept slavery, subjugation, eternal subjugation, domination, external domination, foreign occupation, because they're afraid of suffering. Ask all African countries that are today saying that they're independent. They will tell you how many millions of people they lost to get that independence. So we are tired of this kind of thing, people taking shelter under the enemy and pretending to be Southern Cameroonians. They should not have come to this meeting because it is not a Pan-Cameroon meeting.
Comrade Dennis. Comrade Dennis.
This is not a Pan-Cameroon meeting. It is a Southern Cameroon meeting. We appreciate their point of view. If they
Comrade.
want the voice of those who are pan-Cameroonians to be heard, let them advocate a referendum for the people of the Southern Cameroon. Yes.
Now, Prof. Lillian, can Comrade Dennis speak? You cannot stop Comrade. You've done it a third time and it's not acceptable. The ladies are out of order. Can Comrade Dennis continue to speak? You're out of order, Prof. Lillian. You're out of order. This is Comrade Milton speaking. No, Comrade Lillian, you are out of order. You've done that pattern and it will not be allowed. Can you allow Comrade Dennis to speak? You cannot do this. You can't. I hear.
So, you know, our women they are calling Southern Cameroonian nationalist separatists using the language of the occupier and claiming that they have committed rape or this or that. Please let us be clear. This meeting is only for those who advocate for the Southern Cameroons, not for pan-Cameroonianists. Please, let it be clear. Let it be clear. As I've said, if they believe in Cameroon, let them call for a referendum for the people of the Southern Cameroon so that they will have a chance to convince our people about the need to belong with Cameroon. And those who believe in the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroon will have a chance to advocate sovereignty. This is what we're saying. We don't want this situation where people take over under the protection of the enemy and they're there pretending that they're Southern Cameroonians. Please read the Nazi history. And unfortunately, we are not educated enough about our own history. You say in 1961, we came together, all those things. I give you a homework, please. Let each of you go back and make their research and find any document that was signed by the Parliament by the National Assembly of the Southern Cameroon and La République de Cameroon that creates a federation. That federation was a unilateral law passed in La République de Cameroon's parliament and imposed on the Southern Cameroon 1 month before the trusteeship over our territory was terminated. Our people never had a chance to endorse it. Our National Assembly never had a chance to endorse it. I want all of us to understand why we are fighting. It is not about sentiment. It is not about suffering. It is about statehood. We want to sing our own anthem. We want to fly our own flag. We want to have our own National Assembly. We want to govern our resources. We want to govern our territory. These are the issues. It is not about even this or that, fearing suffering, saying, no, just accept the suffering because if you don't accept, we will suffer. No, please, let us be clear about this. Let us be very clear about this. This is a national struggle which all people have gone through. Read the American history and see what they fought to become independent. Read every African history. So please, let us be clear, my dear ladies. We appreciate your work. We appreciate what you are doing, but we want you to be upright and clear. Don't go and take shelter under the enemy and pretend that you are working for peace. What kind of peace then? You are not calling for justice. We don't see you. In fact, the first speaker just mentioned many things that you would have done if you truly believed in justice. But we have not seen one single thing that you did as people who believed in justice. You have never called La République out for the Ngabu massacre, for all the massacres that they commit in our territory and against our people. You have not called them out for running away from dialogue. You are there talking about what kind of dialogue? How long shall we stay in dialogue when the enemy is not coming to the table? And you have no courage to tell the enemy, please, we are waiting for you on the table. You are the one that is frustrating dialogue. Okay, let us say that you have no courage to say so. Why are you not even coming to your people and saying, look, this is what we should do to get La République to the table? You were talking about talking to the other side. We believe in talking to the other side also. We believe in talking to the other side. And talking to the other side means inviting them to make their case. To make their case. Can you make a case for them? Okay. I challenge all of you. Find one single document that gives Cameroon
Dennis,
yes, please.
I'm stepping in my capacity as you all asked me to moderate this, as chair to chair this. Can I just say that we've got essentially 10 more minutes left for this particular slot. And now I'm throwing the challenge to you. It is only fair that if you want others, unless you want to be greedy and not allowing others to speak, then I would suggest that we're going to just give 1 minute each. and beyond that, we'll take the microphone from you. And it's very important that as like I said earlier, we have this thing. There are there's a wider determinant path to the goal that we are looking for. The ladies have actually presented, which has challenged. They come with their own passion, and everybody has responded very passionately. And it's also important that I should recognize the fact that following what they have heard as in response to them, it's important that we give them also some time to say something. But before that, I want to ask the gentleman to actually make one more comment. Prof. Lillian, I'm sorry, but I appreciate that you are not here in the room, and it's important that the fantastic work you're doing, we try and balance the response to it. So that's why I'm actually stepping in.
Thank you very much. 1 minute, but I go back for 2 minutes. I want for thank these our sisters for Ground Zero. Say they have done a wonderful job, risking their lives, going up and down. And the statistics they gave concerning the school burning and all whatnot, we applaud them. But at the same time, I feel very disheartening for the high level of hypocrisy which they have exhibited. We are not Cameroonians, point of correction. We are Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. Secondly, they have disrespected us and disrespected the struggle. They don't even have respect for us. They call us Northwest and Southwest. When you go to Yaoundé, say that thing. When you come here, we are freedom fighters. This is the Southern Cameroon People's Conference of all walks of life. When you come here and address us as Cameroonians, Northwest and Southwest, you are insulting us. You call our leader in jail, Tabe. He is the president. I mean, the level of hypocrisy which you people have exhibited is like you have come here to sell Yaoundé agenda. And those are some of the things, if we don't set the record straight, people will say this conference has been sponsored by Yaoundé. We all know everybody sponsored himself to come here. I sponsored myself. Everybody here sponsored himself. United Nations sponsored you people. Not even Yaoundé. And you come here before a revolutionary conference when people are dying. You are selling Yaoundé agenda.
Comrade Valerie.
We pray next time.
You have 20 seconds, sorry.
Yes, we pray next time this kind of blatant error and disrespect for a revolution doesn't repeat itself. Once more, I applaud your effort, but learn from this correction. If that is how you'll be coming and doing next time, please just send your statistics. Don't come again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, but it's also important. We are having this passionate debate based on the information that on what is the presentation from these dear ladies. And it's also only normal that we should give the ladies the right to reply. Would you like to make a comment? Following what you've heard. Yes, yeah, yes.
The data I presented is not the big data. They were part of the data. It is not yet. It is data that was collected by people. Let that be. We are not receiving anything from anybody.
Thank you for the point of correction. But again, I just want to find out, would anyone like to say something in response to either you, Prof, or your team, and in response to what the comments you've heard since their presentation?
Please, may I just come in? 1 minute. Okay. No, let me stand here. I very much am aware that
you're blocking the camera, sir.
I'm aware that those of us in the conference, we are Ambazonians, we are Southern Cameroons, we are very much afraid of the connotations that those out there may give because of the presentation of the women from Ground Zero. And whether we like it or not, before this conference, a lot of issues have been said. We are here. After this conference, a whole lot will be said. And they're going to extract portions of whatever has been said and put out there. You have no control over that. Comrade Jessie has given a wonderful response. And she has addressed all of our thoughts. There is no reason for us again coming again, saying things, and asking them to reply. When they reply and they say things again, we reply again, and it is on and forth. Please, Comrade Jessie has responded. We know our position, and that should be it. We should move to the next part of our agenda. Outside on the hall, we can meet them one-on-one and say, it's like this. Please, this should end here. Otherwise, I will do what I did in Nigeria.
Okay. This is Mark at his best as usual. I think it's important. It is important that, like I said, we're working on time. We have a schedule. I think there's one important correction I have to make about perhaps I keep talking about my involvement in this, and that maybe that is what has been fueling sometimes the concern about CDN. I want to point out that the program that we're running today, the program throughout this week, was done by the organizing committee of the Southern Cameroon Conference, Southern Cameroon People's Conference. The program was done by the organizing committee. I just happened to have been assigned, just like the CDN was actually given the facilitating role to this. They're just facilitating. It is not a CDN conference. It just happens that we have brought in the competency to support the delivery. And some of us were involved in the background work in terms of, but there are packages that came from you, the organizers of this conference. I just want to make that clarification. And I apologize if perhaps in talking, people have assumed that we've been making this as if it's a CDN conference. It is not a CDN conference. We just haven't been assigned to facilitate. Prof, you wanted to make a comment? Did you want to make a comment?
Give me a second, please. Also, this is very important because Comrade Lehman, I wanted to respond to your question. Your comment you made about this conference is you've seen all CDN. I think that's a very, very erroneous statement that you made. If you've been following this conference from the get-go on Thursday till now, today is the only time. Today is the only day and the only presentation that you've seen from any CDN member proper was the one that Prof. Lillian made. Let it be clear, everything about this conference has been done by the groups that form the Southern Cameroon People Stakeholder Platform. The CDN, with their good office, all they have done is to give us supporting hand in areas where we know, all of us, even you, Lima, know they have better expertise than most of us. And that we have to appreciate and not rub it on their face.
Oh, yes.
Come on now.
Oh, yes.
We have to appreciate. This is a spirit that a true Ambazonian should do and should have. You give credit where it belongs to. We have to appreciate the help and support that our brothers and sisters at the CDN have been giving to us and not rub it to their face as if they are doing something bad for our people. We know what these people have done to us, but we should not be taking it and turning it around and making it as if it's a bad thing. This conference in totality is being run and managed by different Southern Cameroon people's groups in all its entirety. Please let this message go to everyone, our brothers and sisters on Ground Zero. This is our conference.
This is not sponsored by any third party. La République du Cameroon has nothing to do about us. It has everything to do about different groups that is looking for the liberation of our homeland. Thank you.
Sorry, I have to just interject here real quick, just to clarify this because of the working with this committee again and with the viewers online and all the questions I was seeing. I think Comrade Gideon just did an awesome job on that.
Yes.
But we have to ask ourselves a serious question, and I'm talking to us in the hall here, but I'm also talking to especially those of you on Zoom, given what Comrade Lehman said and others as well. This is the Southern Cameroon People's Conference, and the last time I checked, I think CDN and all these other groups are Southern Cameroonians. We have to be very, very careful. One of the reasons why we have come together the way we have is because we've been able to tap into the strengths of all the various groups and all the various associations, okay? The CDN was tasked with facilitating, and I think we need to make sure that we know what facilitation means, okay? Inside this conference hall right now, we have over 26 representation of different groups. Some of them belong to the Southern Cameroon Stakeholder Platform and others do not, because it was an invitation for everybody and all of us to come together to host and make this conference. I think that this is very clear. We have to understand that. The financing, again, we spoke about it on Thursday, but I understand that people are working on Thursday and Friday, and some of them may have missed some of the information that happened. So we have to also give them that benefit of doubt. The whole idea is that we have to get out of this envelope. When somebody says something, the first pushback is negative. I mean, we are Southern Cameroonians, and I think part of our culture that we're beginning to lose over the years is the idea of being able to dialogue and speak on a positive note. Unless somebody actually deliberately says something to counteract or to go against the movement, please, I'm asking all of us as comrades for us to be able to take positivity first for the most part. Again, this is a Southern Cameroon's conference organized by Southern Cameroonians, sponsored by Southern Cameroonians. The ownership of this conference is going to be by Southern Cameroonians. The outcome due to all of this I've listed is also going to be by Southern Cameroonians. Thank you.
All right, why are you sorry, I just need to add, given that this particular question has been coming up just too many times, it is becoming irritating. If, for example, USIP was sponsoring this conference, would they have been a problem? Would people talk the way they are talking today? If it were some international organization sponsoring this conference, would people talk the way they are talking today? Is it because it is the CDN? Is it because it has to do with our own brothers and sisters? Why do we pull ourselves down? Please.
Okay.
No, please. Look, I know we need to go and eat. Samangwana, I'm not speaking one place. I'm not speaking on behalf of the CDN. But I've just sat in the audience as a man. And I've heard a lot of mansplaining to women. I don't know that other men, either here in the room or outside this room, felt it. People sheltering under the enemy. Arrogance. Crocodile tears, hypocrisy. Who actually truly believes that these 5 women coming here came with that intention of demonstrating hypocrisy? Who actually believes that? I'm sorry, what is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? Who actually believes? I mean, do we speak like that to our mothers? In our culture, we don't speak like that to our mothers. I think we're losing the plot. Do we speak like that to our mothers? I just lost mine. Do we speak like that to our mothers? Are all the men in the leading the revolution not making bigger mistakes than this? Are they not making bigger mistakes than this? Who speaks to them like that? I'm sorry. We have a platform here where all voices are welcomed, particularly the voices of the people who are not represented. And the women here did an absolute fantastic job.
in actually presenting the voices of the unheard. If for nothing else, we should hear them. And if they make mistakes in their language, not all of us always use the right words when we speak. This is the first time the women have come and presented themselves in front of us. And then we give them a lecture and mansplaining. I think it is just not correct. I'm begging just the rules and decorum of how we should conduct conferences like this. We should not be doing things to women that we don't even dare do to other men. I'm speaking for myself. If I stood up here and made those same mistakes, which I did 2 days ago, I don't get the same level of criticism and opprobrium heaped on me like we gave these women this morning. That cannot be correct.
It's
she needs to speak.
Yes.
She needs to speak.
Yes.
She deserves to speak.
Yeah, come. Can I?
Let her not speak.
We have some hands on Zoom. If we can just give them a minute each.
I did say that.
The people on Zoom, if they can each just have 1 minute.
Is Jojo? Can you bring Jojo on, please? While we sort this one out. It's Jojo, you've got the mic, please. You've got the mic.
Okay. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to first of all thank those ladies who came here to do their presentation. I thank them because they are doing exactly the same thing that other women like Mama Ambazonia and our sisters are also doing. So I want to thank them for that. I want to thank Comrade Jess for what she said. And nobody could have said it better than what she said. We are here, which is the Southern Cameroon People Conference. The name Southern Cameroon comes from history, and so we cannot forget our history. We should not forget about what Biya said in Paris. Biya said that the problem of the two Cameroons is because of two systems that were merged together that cannot coexist. And so they have proposed us with the special status. We thank Mr. Paul Biya for the special status, but no, we are not accepting the special status. And I just want to make a comment for what our sister said, that La Republique is saying that they don't want a third-party mediation. No, we are going to have a third-party mediation because Atasan, Dr. Fontaine, and our other brothers tried to have a discussion with them, but they ended up in jail. And so we don't trust them anymore. And so what we'll have a third-party mediation. And we're not going to have anything shorter than a third-party mediation. Okay, I just want to end on that because other people have said a lot of things that I should have said. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jojo, for being so succinct and straight to the point. I think I will just ask your indulgence of Chair's prerogative. Chair's prerogative. It is very important that I recognize that all this stimulating debate we've had just now is based on largely what Professor Lillian and her team presented. And I want to really, for us, just to close this event, that the close this event is very important that we actually, it's important, please, I'll ask for just Chair's prerogative. I'd like to get the lady to actually make a final comment.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to at least react to all the comments that we have heard. I would like to maybe say why we are here. I want to say that our revolution is not the first in the world. We are here because we are women and we have been grossly affected by what is happening on the ground, which you all seated here have not experienced. Because we have been pushed to the wall in our sufferings, we try to look to the left, to the right, to the east, to see what other women have done in their own communities to meaningfully contribute to bringing an end to a crisis. So we are covered under the banner of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, which states that women have the right to participate in either preventing conflict or participate in managing conflict, which is what we are doing now, or participate in the decisions that are reached at the end of the conflict. We are exercising our human rights to belong to these decision-making positions. We didn't come here under anyone's agenda because we have our rights to be part of this problem. And we want to be in all circles where decisions that concern this crisis are being taken. Except you want to tell us that we don't have a right to be here. We live in the Northwest and Southwest regions. That is where the problem is happening. If we can't be part of the decisions, then who will be? We want to be part of the decisions that affect us and our lives. Because I know all those men here, their decisions will be about men and not women. We are speaking the voices of the women on the ground. We are very sorry if we might not have mastered the terminology that you people are using. We are not living in the diaspora. We are living in ground zero. Ground zero has its own terminology. Terminology that we have to use to stay. Only in this room, some of you did not want the camera to look at your faces. We mustered that courage to stand here and talk because we believe in the objective of your meeting, which is that you want to come together, re-strategize, and see how to chart a way forward. I am a woman. I don't want to say we are disappointed, but we understand that this is how the process usually is. But we are not hypocrites. If we were hypocrites, we will not be here. We are not carrying anybody's agenda. We are carrying the women's agenda. And the women's agenda is that we are centering on humanity. We are asking the people, they don't want us to use the word both parties, but we know that there are guns on the ground that are affecting us women because we don't know how to carry that. Ours is our voice that we are pleading. That's why we came here. You can't address us as hypocrites. We are not hypocrites. We did not disrespect anyone, please. We have been to Kondenge to meet our brothers that you are naming here. We have had a discussion with them. How would we be disrespecting them? We have been to see the Cameroon government to discuss. That is the role of women in this crisis. It is about perspectives. There are women seated here whose perspective is to uphold the Ambazonian philosophy. There are women on the ground like us whose perspective is to try to focus on humanity. So it's about perspectives. Please, don't misinterpret us. We just came here because we thought this is the right space that where we have a right to factor our voices. And we pray that of all the things that we said, please focus on what is good. Focus on what is going to help you and throw away what is not good. We have noted all the points that you have put down with all your concerns. We will go back to work because we also came here to get your perspectives. We are very happy that you even thought of inviting us to come here. We are happy for the recognition. And we are saying that like the women of Liberia, like the women of Afghanistan, like the women of Sierra Leone, like the women from all other countries that meaningfully participated in bringing back peace to their countries, we will continue to be part of all the processes, all the spaces where decisions are made concerning this crisis. Thank you.
Okay. The future of this struggle is going to be determined by, the future is going to be determined by legitimacy and evidence-based information. We've got both today. And this conference is showing the legitimacy. We have an all-comers. We have all the key people, the stakeholders affected. They are essentially presenting their position. And then, of course, we are seeing a lot of evidence emerging. The future is going to be legitimacy and evidence-based. And I think it's about, I apologize that there are a lot of people who wanted to comment, and I will suggest that those who are following online, please drop your questions. You can drop your questions through the chat, and then some of these questions will obviously form the basis of the next steps. And some of these, if you don't get a one-to-one response, they're going to have as the basis of next steps for this meeting. And I think it's about time that we have a bit of a coffee break. And I will suggest that, bearing in mind that if it seems as if it was intentionally deceptive when we said this topic was education, prisoners, humanitarian situation. But I want to hope that from a wider perspective, those issues have actually come afore. And it is also to remind people that this afternoon, we're going to have the education committee in terms of that, as I mentioned, the 9 thematic committee, the education committee is going to speak, and that will be hopefully another opportunity. Because I myself, like you all, I have my own questions to challenge to ask on those semesters that were presented. So that is also an opportunity, and I'll have to, just like I'm patient, I hope you also be patient with me. So I'm suggesting that rather than keeping the presenter too long, just go out for a quick coffee break, and then you come back in and let's continue, please. We are back here in 5 minutes, please. 5 minutes and we're going on. Yeah. Thank you.
In the meantime, Comrade Alem, are you there? Comrade Alem. Hello, Comrade Alem. Can anyone hear me?
All right, Jesse, we're taking a 5-minute break. As you can see, we have the counter clock going on. So we're going to have a 5-minute break, and then we shall be right back. For those of you online, again, this is what we're looking for, interaction with one another. And over to you, Comrade Jesse. You have 5 minutes to get some people